On today's show, the new Zac Efron film, The Iron Claw. The reviews are out, and they're really, really good. Kung Fu Panda adds a few more cast members, and the first trailer for Kung Fu Panda 4 is coming out tomorrow. Should the Oscars actually make themselves a little bit more like the Game Awards? Also, Disney is licensing 14 of their shows to go onto Netflix. We're going to go over what those 14 are. There's a new report coming out that's saying that Sasha Calle is not going to be returning to play Supergirl. We heard that she wasn't, then we heard maybe she would. New report is saying that she's not. Also, Angelina Jolie is returning for Maleficent 3 for some reason. And Dune 2 just dropped a new trailer, and it's awesome. That and a whole bunch more. The John Campea Show podcast starts right now. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here in our quaint little studio, brought to you in part by our friends at Mint Mobile. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around so we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, and all sorts of good stuff. Not just giving you our opinions, but giving you some information and context so you guys can form your own well-informed opinions, whether they're the exact same or maybe even different than ours. I'm joined in studio today by Ray Ora.
I just got to say, that was the saddest intro I've ever heard.
What's wrong? What happened?
You were so sad in that intro.
I was sad?
Yeah.
I didn't notice any sadness.
Oh, I thought you just sounded really sad, is what I'm saying. So we're going to turn it up. We're going to turn up the excitement
today is Jonathan Boyko.
I am here. I'm not sad, so I don't know why everyone else is sad here.
You know what is sad?
Yeah.
Chris Carr's not joining us today.
That is sad.
Yeah, Chris Carr's sick today. So
Yeah,
she's
with
at
that
home.
fake sick.
Fake sick.
Fake sick.
Fake
She is
sick.
an actor, you know.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
she
I
left
think
that,
we've all been had.
yeah, she left that voicemail sounding so sad.
I'm so sick.
Yeah.
I can't
And-
come in today.
Yeah, and then Logan was like, we're all ready for Disneyland, right? She's like, yeah.
You know what? I'm keeping my eye on her Instagram the whole day. If she posts one thing that's not sick, I got you.
Hella ballin' today. All right, guys. But most importantly, you guys are here, and here's how today's show's going to go. We're very sadly going to be breaking it down into two main parts. We're going to talk about those 7 sad topics that we started off with, and then we will sadly go into your live comments and questions. Jonathan Voikel's already posted a community tab for our beloved YouTube channel members and asked them to send in some topics and questions. We'll get to those. But also, if you guys are watching live and you got a topic or question you want to send in, you want us to address, go ahead and use the super chat feature in the live chat, and we will get to those at or near the end of the show. Okay, guys. With all that down, let's get things started. We're going to start off with this. You know, it was with a great deal of interest when we heard that Zac Efron was going to be starring in kind of a biopic about the Von Erich family in The Iron Claw. Now, for those of you who may not know, this is based on a true story. The Von Erichs were a true wrestling family. Some would argue the first family of wrestling. And they were iconic and tragic. And the reason the name is called The Iron Claw is because that was the Von Erich signature move. Mm-hmm. They literally would just grab your face and crush your skull. I mean, that was the gimmick. At any rate, called the Iron Claw. And really, it is, in a world of professional wrestling where there is a lot of tragic stories, it's one of the most almost Shakespearean tragedy. The whole story of the family is just heartbreaking, but powerful and moving at the same time. Well, and I love Zac Efron, so I've been very, very interested in this movie. The reviews are now out, and man, they look real good. As we go over and take a peek at Rotten Tomatoes here, Iron Claw right now is sitting at a 91%. Now, granted, that's only with 35 reviews in. More are going to be coming in today. But what we're hearing from those reviews are actually pretty top-notch. I'm just going to read from a couple. Not all of them are positive, but the messenger, Jordan Hoffman's right. You guys remember Jordan Hoffman writes, much like Raging Bull isn't a boxing movie, but a drama with boxing. The Iron Claw is a drama movie with pro wrestling. Screen Crush writes, a moving tribute to pro wrestling and its practitioners. Our friend Edward Douglas writes, Sean Durkin is a filmmaker clearly able to tell such an undeniably emotional story with the clearest of visions. And if you guys remember the name, the director, he directed that movie all the way back in 2011 that put Elizabeth Olsen on the map, called Martha. I got to look it up because Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene. Remember that? Hell of a movie. And it's the reason you know the name Elizabeth Olsen is because of that movie. She got a lot of awards that year from it. He's the same director for that. Going back over here, we've got Screen International, who writes, writer-director Sean Durkin's third feature shares with his first two a fascination for the darker aspects of human nature, but there is newfound tenderness that makes this crushing drama all the more affecting. USA Today wrote, the cast is solid down the line from main stars to supporting players. Fred Topple writes, gives the classy biopic treatment to talent often dismissed as lowbrow entertainment. Awards Watch writes, Durkin may have a broad diagnosis for the fate of the Von Erichs, but he also has an appreciation for their commitment and a spiritual, almost Malikian inquisitiveness with regards to their very existence. And then last one I'll touch on here from Mama's Geek writes, the Iron Claw, while heartbreaking and devastating, also tells a story of unconditional sibling love. The acting, editing, cinematography, and writing are all top notch. This one will break you. And you just know you're not going in to see a Hulk Hogan wrestling film. What was that one he did with Zeus?
Oh, No Holds Barred.
No Holds Barred. Yeah, this is No Holds Barred, right? This is a
cult classic.
Cult classic. This is a gritty, heartbreaking, but powerful drama. And it sounds like that's exactly what we're getting. Now, Ray, I know you and I were talking about this film the other day, and I was surprised because you mentioned you weren't really excited about it. And I thought, well, this is right up your alley. We said, I don't know, man. It just sounds like it's really sad.
It sounds like a bummer. I would rather watch a claw that's attached to a crab leg go down my throat. One thing I realized, I rewatched the trailer. One thing I realized is I still do hate wrestlers that wrestle with no shoes on. That has always been disgusting to me. No one do it, please. I hate.
Why is it disgusting to wrestle without shoes on?
I hate dirty feet. It's just one of those things I just hate. Like when I see like dirty feet, it just grosses me out for some reason.
So like if the hottest woman in the world walks in with a trench coat and dirty feet,
she better have like little plastic on her feet. But also, I got to give it up for Zac Efron. He looks like he sacrificed his neck to get this role because he has no neck.
Rest in peace, neck.
He has no neck.
Peace, Rick.
He is so huge.
Pour
I didn't
one out
realize
for the
how
neck.
big he got in this film.
Massive.
I'm excited because I was a fan of the Von Erichs, especially Kerry Von Erich, the Texas Tornado. He was like my other Ultimate Warrior, and I didn't realize it back then, but he was way beyond the wrestling abilities of the Ultimate Warrior. Ultimate Warrior, wrestling-wise, like in the ring, Kerry Von Erich was...
let's be real. Ultimate Warrior, who we all have a place in our heart for the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
He was not exactly a Bret Hart in-ring tactician.
Yeah.
He was the gimmick was like really great. He wasn't the best wrestler in the world.
And wasn't Kerry Von Erich? Didn't he wrestle with like a prosthetic leg or something? Like one of the brothers did for a while.
I don't remember that.
But yeah, you know what? If I'm gonna watch this, then I'll take it all in. I saw in the trailer they showed a shot of someone that looks like Ric Flair.
Yeah,
it'll be cool to see some, because I used to watch wrestling on all the channels, not just WWF at the time. I used to watch the ones down on ESPN where Kerry Von Erich and the Von Erichs were wrestling, and they were the show. I love the brother thing with them. They seem tight knit. Something that we can all relate to if we have brothers and sisters. But yeah, I can't wait to see this.
And I'm dying to say, by the way, one last note here. A lot of the critics, the reviews are saying almost in unison, they're saying it's the best performance Zac Efron's ever given. And I really like Zac Efron as a actor, so I'm very, very excited about this. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this, shall we? One of the real big pleasant surprises at CinemaCon this past year, back in April, was when, out of nowhere, Jack Black came out on stage. They announced Kung Fu Panda 4, and since they clearly didn't have a trailer because it was too early, he kind of enacted the story of what Kung Fu Panda 4 is going to be. It was absolutely fabulous. Things have been pretty quiet on that front, even though the release date is coming up. Well, it's not quiet anymore, as it has been announced that, number one, there is a trailer for Kung Fu Panda 4 coming out tomorrow. And number two, they announced more cast members, including Ki-Hugh Kwan has been added to the cast. Viola Davis, she did a video with Jack Black announcing that she's going to play, I think, the main antagonist in the film, the Chameleon. Awkwafina, who seems to have her main career, seems to be doing voice work in animated films, is in there. And basically, they released a little bit of the synopsis that this new villain, the Chameleon, I think has the ability to bring back old villains from Poe's past. So we're going to get some of the old villains coming back as well. Of course, Dustin Hoffman's coming back. A lot of the key, traditional characters. In an era when everything was Pixar, going back a few years, when anything good was probably going to be Pixar or Disney Animation, Kung Fu Panda came out and was surprisingly good. I really liked I wasn't a huge fan of the third one. I'll admit I wasn't a big fan of the third one, but I love the first two, particularly the first one, because they were endearing, they were charming, they were funny, but they also had some pretty good animated martial arts action, was also pretty good. And I love the character of Poe. And so then coming out with the fourth one, because I don't know, how long has it been since Kung Fu Panda 3? When did that? Because it feels like it was forever ago, which was part of the reason when Jack Black...
16.
2016, so 7 years since that last one came out. And that's part of the reason why I was so surprised when Jack Black came out. But I'll tell you what, I'm excited to see it. And I really can't wait to see this trailer. And you add that voice. Now, granted, I don't generally get terribly excited about who's voicing the characters. Normally, there are a few exceptions. But, Ki-Hugh Kwan, we continue to live in the age of Ki-Hugh Kwan, which is really good. So I am very excited about seeing this, and I cannot wait for us to talk about the trailer tomorrow. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this, shall we? We just had the Game Awards that just happened, and I was lucky, me, Dennis Zen, were lucky enough to be there for it. It had actually a really good time. But one of the big criticisms about the Game Awards is that it's really not very much about the Game Awards. I think out of the 3-hour runtime, I think about 17 minutes was giving out awards. The other 2.5 hours was trailers and commercials for upcoming video games. Although there's something to be said for that. Should the Oscars maybe be taking a few notes from the Game Awards? That's the topic of today's Mint Mobile Hotline question of the day. Listen, guys, if you got a topper question for our show and you'd like to hear your voice on our show, go ahead and call our Mint Mobile Hotline anytime, 24/7 at 951-268-4259. Ryan Reynolds will write down your note by hand and deliver it over to us, and we'll get to it today. And today's is specifically about the Oscars and the Game Awards.
Hey John, this is Charles from Gurney, Illinois. I was wondering if the Oscars borrow from Game Awards and allow new trailers for previews for upcoming movies to be a bigger part of the show, similar to what they do at the Game Awards, adding to additional excitement for collaborations and projects, also honoring the best films from the past year. And to keep the major awards televised, but maybe move some of the other awards pre-show or online format. Thanks.
All right, well, apparently there was something wrong with the audio there, guys. Sorry, don't know what happened there. But at any rate, this is a more interesting question than you might think. Because obviously you don't just want the Oscars to be, because as great as the Game Awards is, at least the idea of the Game Awards, it is crippling with this just all paid advertisements, the whole thing. But there is something to be said, right, about the fact that there are a lot of fans who look forward to the Game Awards because they do want to see what are the games we get to expect coming up. My additional criticism of that is, I felt like 70% of the games they advertised were games that weren't even coming out in 2024. They're not coming out till 2025, which means you can't even really get excited for them yet. But that's aside. Is there an argument to be made that maybe the Oscars could benefit of not just celebrating the year that was, but maybe also celebrating the year to come. That maybe there should be a little bit more emphasis on the Oscar broadcast. Maybe the Academy works with studios to say, hey, have the first looks at some of your biggest upcoming movies this year, even if you don't have much to show yet, but just work on something that we can debut at the Oscars, the biggest day on the calendar for the movie industry. Now, you have to then find a balance, because you don't want to be the Game Awards where it's like 2 minutes dedicated to Best Picture, followed by 27 minutes of trailers of upcoming movies, right? You have to find a way to balance that out. Like, present an award and then say, Tom Cruise is returning again as Maverick in Top Gun. Pfizer, give me a hard on. That's the next movie. You heard it here first. I broke the news. Pfizer, Tom Cruise, Maverick, Pfizer, give me a hard on. That's the hit.
The return of Goose.
The return of Goose. If you know what I mean. But and then you go and do an award. And then maybe, one of the this coming December is blah, blah, blah. For some reason, Maleficent 3, which we're going to talk about in just a little bit, right? There's something said there. Now, what it would mean is the Oscars would have to do something that they tried last year and a bunch of people cried about, but it was absolutely the right thing they should have done, which is to take some of the categories, pre-record their nominations and acceptance speech. So instead of a 3-minute or a 4-minute process of a presenter walking out on stage and then talking about the art of the short live action documentary goes back to 1927, and we are honored to be joined by those who portrayed excellence in short form documentary, right? Instead, you pre-record those before the live broadcast. Just have the presenter. The nominees for this year's category of Best Short Documentary are, list all the nominees and say, and the winner is so-and-so. Then cut right to the person being at the microphone. Don't wait 45 seconds for the person to go, oh, in their seat and get up, shake 5 hands, make the long, painful walk to scooch out of their aisle and then get down and walk down. Just go, and the nominees are blah, 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 and the winner is blah, and then cut right to the person at the microphone giving an acceptance speech, and then move on. There was a lot of people who cried and whined and moaned when they did something like that last year, but it was 100% the right thing, because absolutely 0 people tune into the Oscars to see the category of Best Short Documentary. I'm not saying that's not a valuable contributor to the world of film. I'm just saying nobody tuned into the Oscars to watch that. So tighten it up, shorten it up a little. Don't do what the Game Awards does, where they just go, hey guys, we got a new category. This category is Best Animation in an Action Game. The nominees are blah, 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 and the winner was blah, blah, blah. Next category, we have, don't do that. Actually, show the presenter, listing off the nominees, announce the winner, show the winner at the microphone, blah. But you could cut you can cut 3/4 of the time out if you just cut out the fluff. Do that for 5 or 6 of the categories, make some room for the presentation, and instead of being like 95% ads, 5% awards, make it more like, 70% awards, 30% trailers and first looks at movies upcoming this year. So while I don't think you should do a direct one-to-one comparison, I do think there is something in there that the Oscars can learn from the Game Awards. It's not just about the year that was. It's also about building up hype and excitement for the year to come. So I don't know, you like, is any of that appealing to you?
You know what? I would get why they would do that, because, it's what the Oscars, what's important to them. Do they want more viewers? Do they want something that is just respectful to the award itself? The thing with the Video Game Awards is when we get through a year, we got to be thankful that we got through that year. And we got to at least give 1 hour, if not 3 hours, 1 hour, to just sit back, relax, and take it all in what we as humans accomplished this year. It's and they gave no time to anybody. There's people who died in that year developing a game, and that person couldn't even go up to the podium and say that person's name and give respects. It's like, as long as they find a balance where you're just appreciating what we've gone through, but also maybe looking ahead to the future too in aspects, I think you would have the perfect show. But finding that balance is real tough because trends change. People's watching habits change. We could see it on YouTube, the way videos are before and the way they make them now, quick cuts and stuff like that. It's like, what we gotta just find a balance where we're respectful to what we've accomplished in the past year, but also look forward to the, I don't, deny doing big trailers during Oscars. I think it would actually be exciting, but just find a way to do it where we're still, praising what we've gone through too at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Yeah, it does.
Now,
Sure.
here's the other thing, though. For anybody who's going to whine and cry, no, every single category, from short animated, from short documentary to this, everyone should be given all this time up on stage. Listen, everybody always complains, and I do too, that one of the problems with the Oscars is that it runs too long, okay? Well, you can't shorten it. Here's a little physics lesson for you. You can't shorten it without taking some stuff out. You can't shorten it without taking some stuff out. And you certainly can't shorten it and add another dimension of promoting and celebrating and hyping up the year to come in movies without taking some stuff out. So you got to find some compromise. It can't be a 5-hour-long show. It shouldn't be it shouldn't be a 3.5-hour-long show. At tops, it should be 3 hours. Peak. And if you want to incorporate some of that in, and I think it is a good idea to incorporate some of that in, but again, scale it properly, have the right balance, but you're going to have to cut some corners. And I think that means pre-record the honestly, and I don't mean to sound unkind, but let's face it, there's 5 or 6 or 7 categories that the average person at home tuning in to watch the Oscars don't care about. So I'm not saying take them out entirely. I'm just saying pre-record those, tighten them up, give them their minute in the sun, and then move on with the show. But
and one last thing, John, we should always have a RRR performance on every Oscars, because that was that was the most entertainment part of, I think, last year's show. Was it last year's show?
Or was it last year or 2 years ago? Oh, that listen, I didn't like RRR, but that musical number was fire. Yeah, that musical number was great. It was one of the best parts of the show that year. It was absolutely fantastic. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this, shall we? It's kind of funny in this era of the streaming war, that really started to fire up during the pandemic. The kind of idea, and certainly the idea that I thought, and that I know a lot of other people thought, was it's going to really all be about exclusive content, right? The streaming networks creating content that is just on their network. It can only be seen there, and that's where it's going to be, and where it's going to stay. Well, we've started to see that that's not really true. Max has started licensing out some of their stuff. We've seen Paramount license out a little bit of their stuff. And now we're seeing Disney. Disney, their umbrella covers everything from Hulu, ABC, ESPN, Disney Plus, and a lot of other branches. Disney is now getting ready to start licensing out some of their content to Netflix. As a matter of fact, we got 14 shows. They're about to come over to Netflix in a non-exclusive, not eternal, but a limited time, but still 14 shows that are under the Disney umbrella that are about to go over to Netflix. Those 14 shows are The Wonder Years, the multi-award winning show This Is Us with our good friend Milo Ventimiglia, My Wife and Kids, ESPN 30 for 30 is going over to Netflix, The Resident, White Collar, Reba, Archer, which might be my number 2 or my number 3 all-time favorite animated show. I love Archer. How I Met Your Mother, Lost is going over there, Prison Break, The Hughleys, The Bernie Mac Show, and Home Improvement. Those shows that have all, up until now, been exclusively under the umbrella of Disney in one of their various branches, are now also going to be available on Netflix. All right. We've talked about this before, but let's revisit this question. Why would a Disney or any streamer, you can just say streamer A, but let's call them Disney for now. Why would Disney take content that they have the exclusive rights to and let a competitor air those shows? I think this is something I never thought would have happened, but it's happening. And there's actually a little bit of a brilliance to it. Number one, let's be honest. Who is talking about the Bernie Mac show anymore? I'm not saying the Bernie Mac show wasn't great. I never watched it, so I can't say, but I'm not saying it wasn't great. But I'll put it on you guys at home watching. I haven't heard one of you send in a question in 10 years about the Bernie Mac show. So who's talking about the Bernie Mac show anymore? Who's talking about The Resident anymore? Who's talking about Reba? Who's talking about My Wife and Kids? I don't hear many people talk about the Wonder Years. So what happens is Disney takes these properties. Netflix, all the streaming services are looking for fresh content to put on, at least fresh for them. And now we're talking about the Wonder Years. Mm-hmm. We're talking about The Resident. We're talking about Reba. We're talking about White Collar. We're talking about Archer, which we all should be talking about Archer. And anyway, phrasing. We should all be talking about Archer. But so now they're in the limelight again. We're talking about it. These are now shows that haven't been exposed to a certain audience, and now the Netflix audience is going to be exposed to them. But here's what they're really trying to do. They won't say this, but I think this is what they're really trying to do. I believe one of the biggest spark plugs that got this whole one streamer licensing out their content to another streamer thing going was Suits. Suits, which just recently broke the record for the longest run as the #1 show in the world 7 years after it went off air. And it, for months, was the #1 show in the world, dominating all the charts, dominating all the rankings. It was there. Why? Because it moved from one platform to another, found a new audience, suddenly it exploded, and Peacock did something really smart. They let Netflix have all the seasons except the last season.
Nice.
So it's like, oh, hey, you got hooked on Suits over there at Netflix? You want to watch the final season? Come on over. The water's nice over here at Peacock. It was brilliant. It was an absolutely brilliant move. Now, can the Wonder Years or Reba or How I Met Your Mother or Prison Break or the Bernie Mac show, can any of these be the next Suits? Probably not. But if you asked me 2 years ago if Suits could have done what it did, I probably would have said not likely. But I'm glad it did, because I never saw Suits before, and I love that show now.
You know, I'm very interested. I've been interested. I just didn't know where it was playing, and it's starting Lost. Just because people describe it.
Oh, it's going to be on Netflix.
Yeah.
Now you know.
People describe it as like something like the premise to it, and it sounds super interesting to me.
It was one of the first cinematic, now that word is used over, cinematic TV shows.
Yeah.
I remember watching it, I was like, oh my God, this looks like a movie. This doesn't look like a TV show.
Well, and today we're a little bit spoiled.
Yeah, of course.
Because when the term must-watch TV, right? Mm-hmm. We had just this past year, we had Last of Us, we had House of the Dragon, we had probably 4 or 5 or 6 things that we'd tag as must-see. But back when Lost came out, you were lucky if once a year there would be shows like this is the whole, like everybody at work is going to be talking about the show.
That was event.
Yeah, it was event television, right? Lost was huge. Now, it disappointed a lot of people the way it kind of fizzled out, but still, it is what it is.
I think this is also a good idea, because when you think of streaming older episodes, which people love doing, because if you have some downtime, you're sick, you want some comfort viewing, you want to go back and binge the old sitcoms or whatever. You don't think of Disney Plus as that location.
No, it's true.
Netflix does have that reputation of what's on Netflix, find a series we can binge. So I think this is a great pairing.
By the way, one other reason this is a pretty good move and smart move on Disney's part, I'm going to throw it to you guys. How much money do you think the Huleys has been making Disney this year? None monies? None monies. None monies is the answer. Yes, correct. How much money do you think Reba has been making Disney this year?
Well, actually negative, because they have to host it.
Yep, they have to host it, pay licensing fees, pay any, right? But guess what? These things are all now suddenly revenue generators.
Yeah.
Because Netflix is paying, yo. They are paying for Disney to ship those over there temporarily, right? So it's generating revenue. It's exposing their content to a new large audience. And they're hopefully positioning any of these shows to maybe get the Suits effect.
Do you think Netflix will, you know how Netflix has the top shows everyone's watching? Like
Yes.
they have the top. Do you think if one of these creep up to that, they'll be like, no, move that off. We don't want to pay more for.
No, because they wouldn't be paying more, right? They're not
Oh.
going to get paid based on how many people watch it.
Right,
They're
right.
just paying a licensing fee. They're going to do like Netflix hopes these shows crack and become the next Suits. Because that's how I found Suits. Suits was just like cranked right up there, #1 spot on Netflix. I'm like, that old show from the USA Network? That's like #1 on what? Yeah, Netflix would love for that to happen.
Yeah, it's a great way to promote older shows that maybe didn't get its due, like people didn't or just like overlooked. I really like that because a lot of these shows, they do deserve the attention that they're getting right now just because they were so good.
And let's see if any of them can break. All right, guys, we still got to talk about a new report revolving around Supergirl and her role in the new DCU. Angelina Jolie is coming back for another Maleficent movie. Don't ask me to tell you why. And Dune 2 just dropped a new fucking awesome trailer. We're going to talk about that stuff and a whole bunch more. But before we do, we're going to take a second here and thank a couple of sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at BetterHelp and HelloFresh. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, BetterHelp. You know, guys, it's Christmas time, and I don't know about your family, but mine always used to like giving a lot of gifts. And whether you like giving big, elaborate gifts or small, personal gifts, it's important not to forget to also give to yourself during this season, because the holidays are a great time to do that. So whether it's by starting therapy, going easier on yourself during the tough moments, or treating yourself to a day of complete rest, remember to give yourself some love this holiday season too. And you know, I think we need to talk about this more. You know, we always encourage each other when we're talking about improving our physical health, you know, going to the gym and working out. We talk about it with each other. We encourage each other. Well, I believe it's time we start doing that when it comes to our mental health. Make sure we're taking care of ourselves by looking at our mental health too. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. So guys, in the season of giving, give yourself what you need with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Campea today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Campea. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable, and that's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Say hello to a stressless holiday season with the help of HelloFresh. Skip the grocery store and save time with easy, tasty recipes delivered right to your door. Because 'tis the season for giving and gathering, and with HelloFresh, it can also be the season of saving. Actually, save money this month with fresh recipes delivered cheaper than takeout, and with pre-portioned ingredients, you'll never waste money on excess food again. You know, guys, I've often talked about that Ann and I are both working professionals, and it can be a struggle around dinner time to get healthy and delicious meals put together. But with HelloFresh, they make it easy, they make it fun, and they make it delicious. So guys, go to HelloFresh.com/CampeaFree and use the code CampeaFree for free breakfast for life. One breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com/CampeaFree with the code CampeaFree. And thank you to our friends at BetterHelp and HelloFresh for sponsoring today's episode. All right, guys, that down. Let's move on to this, shall we? You know, we are still a ways off from the new DCU launching with James Gunn's Superman Legacy. And so there are still going to be questions floating around the air. Still not everybody is totally understanding, is this a total reboot? Is this some things are going to be brought over story-wise? We know some actors are coming over, but is it still going to be consistent? Like, is this going to kind of be a rebooted Peacemaker? Is it going to be the same Peacemaker? Well, one of the questions that's been asked is about actress Sasha Calle, who of course played Supergirl in The Flash. And by the way, The Flash is kind of a divisive film. I don't understand why it's a divisive film. It's a good movie. I mean, Ezra Miller should never be allowed to work as the Flash again. But the movie itself, on its own merits, I thought was a really good movie, but whatever. But, most people, even those who didn't like The Flash, seem to really appreciate Sasha Calle's performance as Supergirl. We certainly like the character. I like the way they did her. Now, early on, after the announcements of James Gunn taking over DC, reports came out that what a lot of people suspected, that Sasha Calle would probably not be returning to play Supergirl. Now, a while ago, though, some whispers started to come out that she just might be coming back to play Supergirl, which is an odd decision for me. But if you're going to bring Xolo back as Blue Beetle after an absolutely failure of a movie, I liked that movie, by the way. I thought it was an entertaining little film, but it was a complete disaster. It fell on its face box office-wise. But if they could do that, why not Sasha Calle as well? Well, new reports are going around saying that Sasha Calle will not be returning as Supergirl in the DCU. Now, this doesn't come from DC, but here it is. Supergirl is set to be recast in the new DCU per a new report. According to insider Daniel Richtman, popularly known as Daniel RPK, Sasha Calle will not be reprising her role as Supergirl in Peter Safran and James Gunn's new DCU. The report from December 8th revealed that while Supergirl will join the quickly growing cast set to appear in Superman Legacy, Calle won't be returning, and casting is already underway. So there's two interesting pieces of information in there. Number one is we've been hearing whispers that on top of Mr. Terrific and on top of, the Guy Gardner Green Lantern and on top of Hawkgirl, that Supergirl was also going to be appearing in Superman Legacy. Okay. But it won't be Sasha. Now, I already know there's going to be a bit of a debate about this because people who thought Sasha was good in the role were thinking, well, she deserves to still have this role. And let me be very clear about where I am on this. I thought Sasha was really good in the role. And I absolutely believe it's the right thing to recast. Because this isn't that Supergirl. Now, me saying that, I can already hear a lot of people yelling at their screens on me. Well, John, Xolo's Blue Beetle isn't going to be the same Blue Beetle. Yeah, I get it. And there's an aspect of this that I don't understand. And that I don't think any of us are going to understand until the new DCU launches. But just in principle, like this Supergirl character, because we already know a little bit about the story, we already know the comics that Supergirl stories are going to be based on. James Gunn has already talked about that. That clearly is not Sasha Supergirl. Sasha Supergirl has a totally different story. And so since they're having this new Supergirl with a completely different story, I think it would make even less sense to bring her back to play it. And again, I say that as somebody who really enjoyed her portrayal as the character. And again, I believe this so much that it's the right thing to recast her that I do scratch my head. Although I love Xolo in the role of Blue Beetle as Jaime, I'm like, how is this going to work? Like, if it's not the same Blue Beetle, why is he coming back? Because I loved him in it. I did. And a lot of us are asking about the John Cena's Peacemaker thing. Well, yeah, this is a rebooted universe. Why is John Cena still playing Peacemaker? Look, we still just don't have the answers. We're going to have to wait and see. So all I can do, instead of trying to piece all the different puzzles together, is just look at this one question in front of us. And the one question is it the right move to recast Sasha Calle? And I actually believe that it is. Not because she's not good enough, not at all. Just for the circumstances, I think it is the right thing. And, I do lament that we're not going to see this Supergirl anymore. I also lament that we're not going to see certain aspects of the DCEU anymore. This guy, let me see. This more than anything. There's my guy. There's Henry. How's that? I will miss this guy most of all. I'll miss you most of all, Scarecrow. I'm going to miss Henry's most of all. But, they are moving on.
And there was a certain style that Sasha Calle brought to her Supergirl.
Yeah.
Which, if this new Supergirl is going to follow the Woman of Tomorrow, maybe they did Woman of Tomorrow, like comics or
it's going to be a very different kind of Supergirl.
Yeah, it could be a very different. And like, James Gunn, I don't see him as being like, like if he doesn't see a good fit, he's not gonna force the role onto someone.
Yeah.
That may have played it not the way he wants this new Supergirl to play it. So,
all right, guys. With that down, let's move on to something big here, shall we? According to reports, Angelina Jolie has signed on to come back to play Maleficent again.
woo!
In Maleficent 3. This is coming to us from Coming Soon, who wrote the following. They say this: Angelina Jolie has signed on to star in a third Maleficent movie. According to the Wall Street Journal, Jolie is officially signed on to star in a third live-action Maleficent movie. No other details about the project were given at this time. All right. As you can probably tell from the title of this topic, I have no idea why they're doing this. You know, I talk to a lot of movie fans every day. A lot of you guys write to me all the time, interacting and all that kind of stuff. I cannot remember one of our community members writing to me and say, you know what we really need right now, John? We need another Maleficent movie. I can't say I can recall a single person writing that to me in the how many years it's been since that first Maleficent came out. Now, look, the idea of Maleficent was great. Angelina Jolie playing this classic villain. And then the movie came out and it was okay. Angelina Jolie is great in the role. She really is. And I'm not just saying that because you're supposed to say Angelina Jolie is great. She was great in the role. She really was. But the movie itself was and they just did what most movies do when they say, oh, this story's about the bad guy. Not really, because she's kind of the hero of the film. And then they did Maleficent 2 and they called it Mistress of Evil. Like, oh, now she's really going bad. Not really. And the movie was really not good. And so I'm left to wonder, why? Why are you doing another one? What's the Maleficent 3, where's my money? Like, why are you doing it? Because even the money becomes questionable. Like, if we take a look at this, the first Maleficent film, like I said, it was maybe okay. Like, I didn't hate it. It was maybe okay. It had a 54% critic rating, which means a small majority of the critics liked the film. I didn't really, but the film made $760 million. Nearly $760 million. So I get why you do another one. But the next one was worse. You see, it's got a 39%. Personally, I think that 39% is generous. And it significantly dropped and went from 760 down to not even cracking 5, down to 400. So you're getting into the Black Adam range there. Granted, still more than Black Adam, but made $491 million. And again, you can make an argument, well, John, $491 million still is nothing to sneeze at. True, but it's a significant drop from the previous one, and it wasn't very good. And if you make a third one, I got to be honest with you, I don't know that there's going to be many people excited about it. Because, Ray, what year did that first Maleficent come out? See if you can look that up, what year the first one came out. But here's the thing. People didn't watch those first two and go, these are permanent parts of my wonderful childhood memories, and I can't wait to go back to visit the world of Maleficent again.
2014.
So nearly 10 years ago.
And then the second one came out 2019.
Was it that recent? 2019?
Yeah.
Wow. And you know, those people aren't now with their own kids and going, I definitely want to share Maleficent with my kids. So I don't know. I'm looking for the why, right? Like, if they were critically beloved but didn't have a lot of financial success, yeah, take another shot at it because it'll create fond memories with people because they were so good, but they weren't that good. If you can show that they had strong box office, I could see why you do it from a business point of view. But even though the second one made $491 million, it was a significant drop off. It wasn't a good movie. You're not going to make that much the next time out. So if these reports coming out of the Wall Street Journal, and I have no reason to doubt this report, if the report is true, I got to wonder, I mean, Bob Iger's back, but maybe he better go beg Alan Horn to come back too, because you need a new head of your movie division. I don't mean that as any slight on, I think it's who's running their movie division now. I think it's Alan Bergman. I think that's who's running the movie division now. But and I know Alan Horn's already retired twice, and now he's the consigliere over at Warner Brothers. But I don't know. Maybe Bob Iger should get on the phone with Alan Horn and beg him to come back again. Throw all kinds of Spanish gold at him.
It's Alan Bergman.
It is Alan Bergman is the head of the movie division there now. You need Alan Horn back because I just don't get what the upside here is for this would be. Like, listen, Angelina Jolie is still Angelina Jolie. I get that. But isn't there like 40 other potentially better and potentially more successful movies you could drop Angelina Jolie in than Maleficent 3 that nobody's asking for? Now, look, if this is getting made, I hope it's the best movie of all time. I hope it makes $1 billion at the box office. I want every movie that comes out to be great, and I want every movie that comes out to be successful. I'm just doubting both of those things here. Either you guys have any interest in this film?
No, and I mean with this track record. So what are we thinking? Like maybe 300 million on part 3?
I'll say this: I'll go 2.
Well, I was thinking like maybe 250, but okay.
Maybe 250.
Yeah.
Maybe 250 because the quality of these films is just not going to create a great nostalgia thing that go, oh, they're making another Maleficent. Let's get there.
Yeah.
Not like if they made another Mystery Men, which I would be there day one. So I don't know, guys. Tell us what you think about this. Look, I'm just talking from my own personal perspective. All films are subjective. You may have loved the Maleficent films, and if you did, that's awesome. Are you excited about the idea of a third one? I got to admit, I got my doubts. Alan Horn, where are you when Disney needs you? Anyway, with that down, guys, let's move on to this, shall we? So one of the real unfortunate, sad consequences and collateral damage of the writer and actor strike was that Dune 2, a movie that we were supposed to go in to see in theaters, November 2nd or something? It was November. I think it was in November. It unfortunately got moved all the way out to March, I believe. March of 2024.
Yep.
It is March. So whatever, what was probably going to be the best film of the year, we were going to have to wait for. Today, quite surprisingly, I had no idea this was coming. A brand new Dune trailer dropped today. And I thought, okay, let's see what they can do. The movie's still a little ways out. I'm sure this isn't the final trailer because it's still December. Let's check it out. And for those of you who may not know, my wife, Anne, had never read Dune, never seen any of the previous iterations of Dune, didn't really know much about Dune other than the fact that there's a sci-fi thing out there called Dune. I took her to go see the first Dune movie. Trailers rolled, or the credits rolled. I turned to her and I said, so, not knowing, I turned to her and said, what did you think? She's like, I think this is now my second favorite movie of all time. I'm like, what? And sure enough, there's Tom Hanks's Big, will always be her number one, and Dune is like her number 2 second favorite film of all time. And it's gorgeous and beautiful. Won more Oscars at the Academy Awards that year than any other film. It's a triumph. Well, this new trailer comes out. And holy shit. Oh my God. This trailer was so freaking good. This trailer, like, it is definitely a story of 2 chapters, right? Because the first trailer is all about the setting and setting the stage for everybody, introducing the characters, understanding the galactic construct of what's going on around them, getting to know Paul and setting up its character, its drama, its atmosphere, its beauty. It was a wonderful, wonderful film, right? Chapter 2 is a different chapter. Chapter 2, we see war. And we see the payoff of a lot of that stuff that got set up in the first film. And I'll tell you the scene that gave me instant Italian boner. Because you remember in that first movie.
No, thank you.
You remember in that first movie when the Mother Superior, the Bene Gesserit order, was like schooling Paul, like blah, blah, like showing him the meaning of power. Well, then you hear her in the trailer talking about, like, we've never seen power like this. We've never seen this. We've never seen blah, blah. And then finally in the trailer, you see her going, consider your actions carefully, Paul. And then Paul Atreides in that power voice, silence. And I'm like, holy shit. It was so good. I freaked the hell out. I literally paused the trailer at that point, went back 10 seconds to play it again. Consider your actions carefully, Paul. Tracy says, silence. And she's like, shut the fuck up. And he's like, he's coming in. He's a fucking chosen one, man. He's the chosen one.
Chosen.
He's the Muad'Dib.
Mm-hmm.
And he ain't playing,
Nope.
Ray. He ain't playing.
Oh, God, he's not playing.
Who's got a needle in your neck now, huh?
Mm-hmm. But Austin Butler looks like he's
Oh,
gonna be
my
a
God,
problem.
he looks so good.
That knife that they showed
Look
in
at
the
Elvis
trailer, man, I want that knife for real. And that's a cool looking knife. I'm not a knife guy, but if I had a knife, it would be that knife. I love the shots that we saw, like the massive army. There's so many soldiers there. I just like the part where what are those things called that
The
come up?
sandworms?
The sandworms came up, and that huge army is just like, nope.
Oh, my
And they
God.
started running the other way.
Because, as the audience, when we see that big sandstorm wall coming up, and he's like fighting with a different kind of power, we're like, oh, we have a suspicion. We know what's about to come out of that sand. Those soldiers don't. And then the scale of these sandworms comes out, and it's kind of like nightmare fuel, right? And then the camera goes up. You see them ride. I think that's probably the Fremen riding the sandworms in the battle. Oh, my God.
And that goosebump shot where I just realized, how you're talking about this guy's power, where I think Chalamet's in his robe. You don't see his face. He's all hooded up, and behind him is a sandworm, and he's just walking like in front of it, just like that. I was like, oh my God, this guy is gonna rule this planet, because those things look like a problem.
He may end up ruling more than that.
Oh, I don't know anything.
And you know what's really, really cool? For anybody who does know much about the story, they showed very little of Florence Pugh as the intergalactic princess. Other than the one line that we saw from Christopher Walken as the Galactic Emperor saying, send assassins, right? But these are key players in this movie and in this story. And particularly Florence Pugh, she has a very large role to play. The character of the princess in here is a very, very large role to play coming up. And oh my God. Listen, 2023's loss is 2024's gain, because we're probably going to end up getting the movie of the year early in the year.
Didn't you say something earlier to me, though? Some bad news for me?
Oh, thank you for reminding me. There was one other piece of news that came out today about Dune and Dune 2, that not only is there a trailer, but according to reports here, Dune 2 will officially be Denis Villeneuve's longest movie. Dune Part 2 will have a total running time of 166 minutes, or 2 hours and 46 minutes, which comes in 3 minutes longer than Denis Villeneuve's previous longest film, which was Blade Runner 2049 at 163 minutes. So I read that and I'm like, oh, Ray's not going to like this. He's going to love the trailer. He's probably not going to like it. Ray, but doesn't this look like something that can hold you for almost 3 hours?
You know what? The thing with the first Dune is it took me 3 sittings to actually finish it, because I kept falling asleep during certain parts. I don't know why. Maybe it's just one of those things. But I still wanted to finish it. That's where I give credit to the film, because other movies I'll fall asleep and I won't care about going back to it. I had to finish the first Dune, so I will finish this movie. I will finish it.
Oh, by the way, this scene here where he's like he's licking the knife and then just kills the poor servant girl standing beside him, like, just because he doesn't give a flying fuck. I don't care. I'm gonna kill you.
I like that bald dude. Whoever that bald dude was that was dying at the end of the Dune 1.
The guy with I don't know what you're talking about.
The bald fat dude. He looked like the Blob.
Oh yeah.
He's not gone.
Yeah, that's his father.
Yeah. I like that actor who plays him.
Oh, that's a Skarsgård.
Yeah, he was so good in that movie.
Oh, he's so good in that movie.
I hope I see more of him.
As
in this
Baron
one.
Harkonnen?
Yeah.
So good in that.
That character's dope. I don't know why.
Anyway, I thought this trailer was absolute fire. I cannot wait for this movie. I am drooling to see it. And this trailer just made me even more excited. All right, guys. With that now down, we're going to go on and start taking your comments and questions that you guys have been sending in. But before we do, we're going to take another moment here and thank another sponsor of today's show, my mobile service provider, and they should be yours, Mint Mobile. Guys, we want to take a moment to thank a sponsor of today's video, Mint Mobile. Give yourself the gift of insane savings this holiday season with Mint Mobile's best wireless deal of the year. Right now, when you switch to Mint Mobile and buy any 3-month plan, you'll get another 3 months for free. That's 6 months of premium wireless service for the price of 3. And Mint Mobile lets you order and activate from home while saving tons on phone plans starting at just $15 a month. Seriously, I can't think of a better gift than turning an overpriced wireless bill into just $15 a month with Mint Mobile. I've told you guys many times, since switching to Mint Mobile, I am spending less than a third on my mobile service plan with Mint than I was on the previous big carrier who was my provider. By going online only and eliminating the traditional cost of retail, Mint Mobile passes the significant savings on to you. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and switch easily and effortlessly with eSIM. So again, for a limited time, buy any 3-month Mint Mobile plan and get 3 more months free by going to mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Mint Mobile for being my mobile service provider and for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get over to your questions here, shall we? Jonathan, what we got up first?
All right, we've got, first up is Raymond Verada, who says, from Variety, E3 gone now, only Game Awards left.
Yeah, actually, we were just talking about that before the show started. Now, a lot of people have assumed E3 was gone. I mean, E3 eventually, or at first kind of shut it down because of the pandemic. Here's the thing, Ray, you mentioned to me, like, with the Game Awards now, do they really need E3? But E3 was a very different thing than the Game Awards, right? It was more like a Comic-Con, an industry convention thing. And, I mean, listen, I never attended one, but from everything I understood, it was always massively attended, hugely popular. And I'd never been there, but for those of you getting Raymond's thing there, yeah, it was in Variety today that it is officially dead. It's gone. So
the big part about E3 was the hands-on stuff, but also the pressure to that is game companies had to get a demo out in order to steal the show on those things. They had the E3 girls, all the girls like whatever that were there. It was a big thing. I think its time is just past now. I think people could just watch all the trailers that they debut online, and also each video game company has their own press conferences now. So
I still remember that was always the biggest thing, like E3, and each of the big console gamer things would come out, do their own big presentations and stuff like that. It's too bad. Again, I never went to one, but it's
because
unfortunate.
It was strict. The attendance was strict. It wasn't like as easy as Comic-Con.
Yeah,
like,
you couldn't just buy a ticket.
You have to be in the industry.
Yeah.
So like that's what was unfortunate. I will miss it. I did like E3 though.
All right, what's next?
All right. Also, I missed this one from Raymond. Thoughts on Zachary Levi's calling out Nepo bro Sean Gunn?
He didn't really. That's being completely miss thing. So there was an interview going on. Zachary Levi was doing an interview because I read the headline. I'm like, oh, that's kind of nasty.
Yeah.
But then I saw it. It was so said in a joking way, right? Because they were talking about Sean Gunn. And he said, well, he did this in Suicide Squad and he played this and blah, blah. And then he was like, but whatever, you're the head of DC's brother. You can play whatever role you want. It wasn't a shot.
No, that's
it wasn't a shot. Everybody's taking it and trying to make it like Zachary Levi was taking a shot. He wasn't taking a shot. He meant it in fun and in jest. It was totally innocent.
And also, he's just speaking the truth when you are.
Yeah, I mean, you could. And listen,
representing.
By the way, if it was nepotism, Sean Gunn would be playing Superman.
Yeah.
Or Sean Gunn would be playing Batman, or Sean Gunn would be playing a Green Lantern. That's not happening here. So it was a totally innocent thing. Zach wasn't doing anything underhanded.
Sean Gunn's just doing graphics.
Doing graphics.
Doing graphics.
The amount of work Sean Gunn puts into that, he's a collaborator anyway, so that's baloney. Robert is next, and he says, Godzilla -1 title meaning is basically Japan was at ground zero, rebuilt after World War II, and Godzilla attacking them put them further behind.
Yeah, I had a couple of
so
people
like
write to me and say so basically, John, because we asked on the show yesterday, I said, I love -1, but I still don't understand the title. And a bunch of people wrote to me and said, so basically the idea is Japan was right down to zero. After the war, they were at zero. and the rebuilding was started. But Godzilla comes around, they put him behind even zero, made him -1. Like, okay, I that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
They're in
All right,
Godzilla deficit.
Godzilla deficit. What's next?
HV3 says, my theater of choice is Alamo Drafthouse. Strict policies on talking and texting. Amazing food. And only 3 or 4 trailers before your movie starts. Never had one problem with people and cell phones.
Listen, I have some negative feelings about the Alamo Drafthouse because of certain personal and personnel there. But if I'm being objective, they do a lot, not just right, but better than a lot of other theaters. They are hardcore about put your fucking phone away. Like I still remember the first time I went to an Alamo Drafthouse, and they had this, what's the name of the girl in the Sunset movies with Ethan Hawke? I keep forgetting her.
Oh,
Julie.
wow. I'd have to look that up.
I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it was her and Ethan Hawke. It was like they were acting out a scene from a new Sunset movie, right?
Julie Delpy.
Delpy, thank you. And then you hear it's like it plays for like 10 seconds. I'm like, what's this? Is this a trailer? And all of a sudden you hear a little phone in the background. And then Delpy's like, wait, hold on. Does somebody have a fucking phone on? And her and Ethan Hawke, like basically looking at the audience from the screen. It's like, you're dumbass. Put your phone away, right? They are hardcore. You take out your phone, they'll come in and they'll throw you out.
Yeah.
I mean, they are hardcore about that. Yeah. I love that.
Arclight was a lot like that too.
Yeah, Arclight was really good. Not quite as hardcore, but they did it well. And they also did what Arclight did, was they had a cap on how many trailers played. Mm-hmm. 3, 4 trailers, sweet spot. That's perfect. Then they got into the movie. So listen, I have some personal feelings about the people who run Arclight. I do. But credit where it's due. They do a lot of things better than a lot of other theaters do. And those are a couple of the big ones. All right, what's next?
All right. James Wheeler with $20 super chat.
Thank you, James.
Happy Tuesday, everyone. Yesterday, you asked what Godzilla,
Godzilla
-1 referred to. The devastation of the war brought Japan to zero. The emergence of Godzilla sent the country into negative territory.
Yeah, and I'm glad people wrote that in because, number one, nothing in the movie suggests that.
Yeah.
Because I remember, like, I watched the movie and I still realized there's no explanation here what -1, but that makes perfect sense. And now the title doesn't seem like a waste or a throwaway title to me now. All right. What's next?
AL says E3 is dead for good. Thoughts?
Yeah, we touched on that already. Again, I think it's unfortunate. I never went myself, although like a lot of people, I looked forward to the big presentations. But Ray brings up a good point. I mean, the Game Awards, a 3-hour broadcast, kind of fills the shoes of what E3 was. And I think it's sad. I think it's unfortunate, but it's a part of the evolution, I guess.
Did you ever watch Conan O'Brien doing the E3 when he used to visit and used to do his skits for his show?
No, I saw Conan O'Brien doing Comic-Con.
Those
I haven't seen him do E3.
You gotta check it out.
All right, I'll have to look those up. All right, what's next?
Peach Mode says, for future reference, how do I keep YouTube from restricting my content? I follow the guidelines.
Yeah, look up the content guidelines and make sure you follow them.
Yeah.
Like one of the big new rules with YouTube is that you can swear, but you can't swear in the first 15 seconds of your video. That's one big one. But yeah, just take a look at the rules and that and make sure you're good. All right, what's next?
Michael Robert Maximilian Moriarty says,
I love that.
Looks like 9 Marvel projects next year, 5 D+ shows, 2 live action, 3 animated, 1 MCU movie, Deadpool 3 SSU movies. Is that too much for Marvel? No, not when 3 of them are animated.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a couple things. Don't count X-Men 97 and don't count What If.
These are different studios
working
on these.
And the Sony stuff, it doesn't count anyway because the Sony stuff isn't in the MCU, so that's totally separate. Really, what Marvel has next year is 1 movie and 2 live shows. I mean, that's really what they've got. You can't count the Sony stuff. That's a totally different thing. I am very much looking forward to Kraven. I am very much looking forward to... what's the other one? Venom 3. I really got on board with Madam Web when I heard the synopsis and what the basic story conceit was. But the trailer,
It
The
ain't doing it.
dialogue was delivered so wooden in the trailer that it makes me a little bit worried for the movie. I like the basic story idea. I really do. But the trailers made me a little bit worried because of how wooden the dialogue is in it. And that's supposed to be your best example of stuff. So, but Craven, I don't know if it's going to be good or bad, but I know I'm fascinated to see it. I love the Venom film, so I'm really excited about that. And I don't know. We'll see about Madam Web. We'll see about it. All right. What's next?
Sean in 3D says, "Hi guys, for Christmas I got my dad a Blu-ray player and a boatload of movies. Any film recommendations for a man who grew up in the 70s and 80s?"
But I mean, I'm not a physical media guy, so I don't know what would be available. Like French Connection, or like that's something all dads would like. The French Connection. I mean, French Connect. What?
I just got that new Count Newman Blu-ray in the mail, so maybe if he watched the Star Wars holiday special,
that Star Wars holiday
he'll
special.
watch Disturbance in the Force, because I did get that Blu-ray. I had to get a hard copy of that.
You know what? I got to say this. I have to apologize. So my buddy Kyle Newman, one of the producers on Disturbance in the Force, the documentary that's now out about the Star Wars holiday special. So like 2 days after, my wife, Ray's sister, Anne, went into surgery. And so that was a very chaotic day for me, clearly. But it was on that day that the director of the film called me and left a message on my phone wanting to connect. But because that was such a hectic, crazy day, my wife was going into surgery, like all that kind of stuff. It totally went off my radar. I totally forgot about it. And it was last night I was getting ready for bed with Ann, and I'm like, Ann brought up the Kyle's documentary, and I'm like, oh my God, I just forgot. I got to get a hold of the director. So if any of you know the director, I'll try to call him later today. But I felt really, really bad that I never got back to him. Anyway, all right, what's next?
Danito asks, "Do you think Across the Spider-Verse still has a chance at Best Picture?" I mean,
I
it's
think
worthy.
Across the Spider-Verse, here's what I think. I think it will get nominated for Best Picture.
Interesting.
I do not think it has a chance to win. I just think there are still right now too many. There are just going to be a lot of members of the Academy that won't take seriously the idea of an animated film winning Best Picture. But it's a step in the right direction. I mean, if it does get nominated, and I think it will, it'll only be the fourth animated film in history to get a Best Picture nomination. To go along with Beauty and the Beast, Up, and Toy Story 3. Where the other animated films to be nominated for Best Picture. It would just be the fourth one to ever do it. So that'll be good. So nomination, yes. Win, no. It would get my vote to win, but it won't win. That's fine. All right, what's next?
Sugar Reese Reviews says the Chargers have to be one of the most cursed sports franchises. Should have never left San Diego. I'm only 22. They make me feel 50. Sell the team.
Listen, the reality of the NFL with its parity is that you can do a lot of things. You can do almost everything right and still have a losing season. That's just how good the league is. That's how fine the margins are. I mean, listen, they've got a guy who can be a franchise quarterback for the next 15 years in Herbert. But, you know, the guy went down. I just read he's getting surgery, season-ending surgery.
Oh.
Sucks. A few things wrong go here and there, and your season can be lost. I mean, listen, I hate to remind you this, but they didn't win any Super Bowls in San Diego either. So, you know, it is what it is. All right, what's next?
Bengals.
Bengals.
Hold my beer, baby. Hold
Oh,
my
yeah,
beer.
because he's out for the season.
Yeah.
Burrow went down. All right, what's next?
Jack Eggleton writes, "Hey, John, just a quick one. Can you list your top 50 movies from the 21st century and provide a brief review and plot synopsis of each? Cheers." You know what? We won't even do that in long form because I am not editing that.
Yeah, I'm not editing that.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, he's goes playing a joke. Like the fact that people writing, John, what do you think is the top 5 this? I'm like, listen, guys, I don't take live questions to give top 10 lists, top 5 lists, because
It's tough.
I can't do that off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I mean, I would want to sit down, figure it out. How would I position something? Blah, blah, blah. But that was clearly a joke on that. All right, what's next?
Satanic Lives Matter. Okay. Blade Runner 2049 will always be Denis Villeneuve's best film, hands down.
No,
you haven't seen all of his films yet.
No. It's already not his best film. I mean, it's already not his best film.
Wow.
It's great. I love Blade Runner 2049, but I mean, he's got a couple of really, really special films already. I mean,
yeah.
Dune is better than it.
I mean, and I love Blade 2049.
Oh, it's so good.
That's the newer one. Right?
I think it's better than the original.
Oh.
Yeah, and I still think Dune is better. So.
And we got Dune, and after Dune 2, he's still young. Denis still young. Like, he's going to make probably 3 or 4 films that are better than Blade Runner 2049. And again, I say that as somebody who loves the movie. I think Blade Runner 2049 is great. All right, what's next?
TJ Perry says the new Netflix movie Leave the World Behind was awesome. Felt like 10 Cloverfield Lane meets Knock at the Cabin. Tons of fun.
Yeah, Ann and I both really want to watch that.
What's it called?
Leave the World Behind. It's the new Julia Roberts, Mahershala Ali film. We were talking about it at dinner.
I know, but I didn't know it was like a sci-fi sort of.
Oh, it's kind of like an end of the world kind of thing. Yeah. I really want to watch. Ann and I got to sit down and watch that this week.
I'm watching that today.
It is 3.5 hours long. I'm kidding. I don't know how long. it is.
Ray's face.
Oh, I'm out.
Something like telling a 5-year-old kid there's no Santa.
It's on Netflix, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Netflix.
Okay.
All right. What's next?
Jesse has a turtle says, Ray, is John over exaggerating when he says how unfiltered you are? I assume me and my friends were as bad as it get. I assumed he and his friends were as bad as it gets. I mean, everyone can be bad.
I am not exaggerating in the least.
And I am not saying anything at all.
Listen, we'll be driving in the car.
Oh, no. Don't.
I'm not going to I'm not going to repeat anything, but like, we'll be driving in the car. Like, me and Ann and Ray will be in the back seat. Maybe Ryan will be back there, or Tommy or something. And at least 3 times in that drive. First of all, Ray will have us laughing hysterically at a lot of different stuff, but at least 3 times in that drive, Ray will say something like, "Oh God, I hope there's no recording devices in the car."
But
Please.
then you just laughed.
But then I laugh. Yes.
Yeah. So the whole purpose of that is
Yes.
I will say things to
Yes.
make people laugh. And
Yes.
there's no other reason behind it.
I know in our AMC Collider days, I would howl like a wolf every time you would say something questionable. I did a lot of howling at AMC and Collider. A lot of howling.
The werewolf.
Speaking of howling, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Ray had this. I mean, I swear to God, I want to make a YouTube channel just
Oh,
on.
no.
Ray had this character going all the way back to the AMC days, never aired on AMC, but he would do privately. He would do this character, this fictional character called Racist Werewolf Reviews, where he created this character that was a racist werewolf. And whenever there was a new movie coming out, he would say the most awful things. And whenever he would say something awful, he would howl. It's like,
Oh my God.
I mean,
okay.
he never said, I'm going to make up a thing, but like, yeah, that Italian, just all that, nothing but pasta. Arr! Whenever he would say something questionable, he would howl like a wolf. And it's like, I wish I could make a YouTube series out of this.
It's not, none of it is ill will or
No,
like,
no, it's all in fun. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I'm the type that even my own culture I will totally bash or make fun of. It's just because we're all different, and I love the differences.
We're all the
between us,
same, baby.
Where I like to point things out that are just funny. It's just one of those things. Don't take it as any other reason.
No, but
that will never
we absolutely could not make a YouTube show out of that,
yeah,
unfortunately.
no.
All right, what's next?
J Loco says Dune 2 for the people. Say it, Ray, for the people.
For the-
People.
You do it way better than I do.
Fine.
You did the whole speech. For the people. The people.
All right,
Standing, baby.
what's next?
Or was it peephole? Remember we went off on that? You took my peephole away. I can't see people in the bathroom anymore.
See, that's what me and Jonathan go through when we're trying to work, but also still stay awake.
Yeah. My peephole.
All right, what's next?
All right, on to our members. CJ Rebirth. I mean, I enjoyed Maleficent 2 myself more because they brought in Michelle Pfeiffer, and I'll go see part 3, but they should have done a full-on Sleeping Beauty remake. I wanted that Dragon and Castle Thorn scene with badass music.
I mean, yeah, listen, most movies I don't like, I can point out several things I thought they did well. I mean, and Maleficent 2 definitely had some moments. It absolutely did. And you're right, bringing in Michelle Pfeiffer is never a mistake. I just wish it was better. I mean, that's just what it came down for. Still just wish it was better. But I'm glad you enjoyed it more than I did. All right, what's next?
Knowledge writes, would it be a better move for Marvel to only make movies with their A-list mainstream characters and make TV shows with their C-list secondary characters?
So here's the problem with that. If all you ever do is make movies with just your A-list characters, you're never developing future characters. And then you say, well, that's what Disney Plus would then be. That's kind of like your farm league, right? That's your minor league is over there. But once you start off somebody there and everybody just knows this is their minor, this is for the characters we don't really take seriously, it would be very, very difficult to then graduate those characters out of there and bring them to the big screen. So no, the problem is that Marvel and Disney have swung the pendulum too far the other way. Since Endgame, they've just been they've been vomiting up like waves of new characters, right? And not taking their time with them, not letting us get, connected to those characters, not deepening the roots of those characters. Again, just bring up Shang-Chi. Where the hell's Shang-Chi? Where's he been? Like, you introduce this character, one of the best movies Marvel's ever made, and we haven't heard one fucking peep about it. But we've had 17 other new characters come up. So they just went too far the other way. It's always about a good balance. It's like building a good basketball team, right? You want to have your seasoned veterans, a mix of seasoned veterans and up-and-coming young guys.
And LeBron.
And have LeBron. That's never a mistake to have LeBron. So, I mean, yeah, it's not to just stick to A-list characters. Well, then your movie franchise is on its way to death. But it's about mixing it up. Have your established A-listers, mix in a couple of new ones, make sure you spend time to develop the new ones. I don't think creating a major league and a minor league is their long-term solution, though. But anyway. All right, what's next?
Dominic writes, would you rather see Steven Spielberg direct a Jabba the Hutt movie or a Ben Affleck directed starring Batman movie?
Ooh.
Why is it Jabba the Hutt specifically?
Just because I've said my whole life what I really want is to see Steven Spielberg direct a Star Wars movie.
I would do Steven Spielberg, and only because as much as I would love to see Ben Affleck directing a Batman movie, I'm over that iteration of Batman now because we're moving forward.
Right.
So I would go Spielberg, Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, I mean, I got to go with the Spielberg one just because my whole movie loving life, what I've wanted more than anything else in a movie is a Steven Spielberg directed Star Wars film. That's what I want more than anything else. So I got to go with that. But I would give many, many things. There are many laws of man that I would break to see a Ben Affleck directed Batman movie. Very much.
Directed, but like not starting because he said he was over
I would take him starring in it too. I love that iteration of Batman. I love it.
Reboot, baby.
Well, my only fear is that he said that he was so overdoing that, so then it would be miserable for him.
Well, because I mean, the fans made it miserable for him, right? Like right from the day that they announced his casting.
Yeah.
John Schnepp and I were the only people online going, this is a brilliant casting. Ben Affleck's Batman is going to be great. But the entire rest of the internet was just mocking him and tearing it apart and it never stopped. So that's why he never wanted to do it again.
Sometimes we are the reason why we don't get things.
Oh, it's 100%. Right? It's 100%. All right, what's next?
All right, we've got Amin writes, I haven't been this excited for a film since Endgame. Seems like it's the same for a lot of people, casual moviegoers and hardcore ones. The anticipation is killing me. Great trailer.
I assume you're talking about Doom 2.
Yeah.
There's Deadpool 3 is my most anticipated movie. But not far behind that would be Dune 2. I just can't even begin. Listen, Denis Villeneuve, Steven Spielberg is the greatest filmmaker of all time, period. I think right now, it's like LeBron James is the greatest scorer of all time. I mean, he is. Right. That's not an opinion. That's a statistical fact.
Not in college.
But one or two other players, the Greek Freak may be the best player right now, right? Steven Spielberg is the greatest filmmaker of all time. But right now, at this moment, Denis Villeneuve is the best filmmaker in the world. And everybody knows how much I love Christopher Nolan. I love Christopher Nolan. I put him above Nolan. I put him above where Scorsese is right now. I put him above where Spielberg is right now. I think Denis Villeneuve right now today is the best filmmaker in the world. I cannot wait for this movie, man. I'm so excited for it. All right, what's next?
Jai CSC says, I couldn't get into Dune. I was not the audience for it. The first couple of trailers for Dune 2 also didn't wow me either, but this trailer, that was on another level.
It all depends. You know, this is the beautiful thing about the art. All of us as individual film fans, there are things that work better for us than other things, right? And for all of us, that mixture is different, right? There are some of us that look at a film like Dune and we just relish in the richness of it, the drama, the character depth, all the deep stuff. For others who are wired not better or worse, just wired a little bit differently, they're looking for something. It's not that they don't appreciate that stuff. It's just they have a greater appreciation for other elements that they would rank a little bit higher. And so then you get something like this second chapter that is appealing more to those elements, and it's going to appeal more to those people. Again, one is not better than the other. It's just all of us have different things we look for. Like, to me, the first Dune is fucking brilliant. It was fantastic. But I mean, it's not going to be that for everybody because it had things that is not high on the priority list for everybody. But a lot of us loved it, man.
And I'm a sucker for it. I don't know. There's this theme with Doom about like uprising, right?
Yeah.
And like coming to power, coming from nothing into something, becoming something way beyond what people have, you know, thought you could become or whatever. I really like that theme from this trailer. Like, I want to see this play out.
All right, what's next?
KM King says, John, should we blame the mediocrity of the current MCU on Kevin Feige? After all, he is the head of the studio, and we do this for every other studio head, whether they're successful or not.
Generally speaking, that is an accurate thing to say. However, there's a giant elephant in the room. Little over 3 years ago, a new CEO of Disney came in and stripped Kevin Feige of a lot of his power and took away his decision-making power of what projects get made and where those projects are going to go and how many projects to make.
Yeah.
Those decisions that all used to be Kevin Feige's decisions to make, and everybody just seems to forget about this, was literally stripped away from him. Bob Chapek created a new layer of middle management, and he put his banker buddy in charge of it, and that banker buddy got to tell Kevin Feige what you can make, what you can't make, how much you need to make, and where that stuff is going to go. And while that does not alleviate Kevin Feige of all responsibility, because he's still the guy in charge, you can't ignore it. It's like telling a left-handed batter, all right, the manager coming and say, okay, great, but I want you to hit right-handed for this season. But I'm a left-handed hitter. That's where I hit. Yeah, but I want you to hit right-handed, go. It's still the batter's responsibility to hit the ball, but you can't ignore the fact that he was just handicapped. Kevin Feige has been handicapped. He's had one hand tied behind his back for 3 years. So does a part of the responsibility lay with him? At the end of the day, yes, you can't deny it. Yes. But you can't ignore that for the past 3 years, he's had his hands tied behind his back, and finally now he's been loosed again. So let's see what happens over the next 2 to 3 years. Remember, you're not going to see the difference overnight. Just like it took a little while, once his hands got tied, you didn't see the effects of it immediately. It took a year, 2 years, 3 years. And it's going to take us a year, 2 years, or 3 years to see the results now that he's been empowered again to actually do his fucking job. And we'll see how it goes. Can he recover from it? Or do they continue to go downhill? We'll have to wait and see. All right, what's next?
All right, Jesse Has a Turtle says, went and watched The Boy and the Heron yesterday, and I thought it was great, but it's also a movie that had me confused on what everything really meant. Usually me and my wife will end up watching breakdown videos going in depth about the film. You guys ever have any similar outcomes? I guess where you don't really get the meaning of the film.
The way you describe it, the only film that really comes to mind for me is The Lighthouse. Directed by Robert Eggers, starring Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe. That is a movie that to this day, I still don't know what the F I saw. It was like a car wreck.
But I do enjoy listening to Willem Dafoe talk like that.
Oh, yes. I mean, I it was like a car wreck. I couldn't take my eyes off screen. Like every moment, my eyes were glued to the screen. But I walked out of that movie going, I have no idea what I just watched. And to this day, I still feel that way about it.
Speaking of which, both those actors are in The Boy and the Heron. They have 2 voice parts.
Oh yeah, well pointed out.
Yeah.
All right. What's last?
Yeah, last one up here. Jared Vester says, not really that excited for it, but is there any mention of release schedule for Rings of Power Season 2?
You know, I think I heard that they did. Listen, there had never been a TV show that I was more excited for than Rings of Power. And, well, I certainly think it I definitely think it had some great episodes. It clearly was a show that did not live up to my hopes. Which is unfortunate. But there were still seeds there. There were still ingredients there of what could be a great show. There are several things they did really right. Some of the characters are absolutely loved. I could watch a 6-hour movie just of what was the dwarf's name?
Yeah, I know what you're talking
The
about.
dwarf and Elrond.
Mm-hmm.
I like every moment those two characters were on screen was, to me, was magic. I loved that part. But overall, it was a series that disappointed.
Yeah.
But again, I saw enough there. I saw enough potential there, enough nuggets of things that I thought were good that I'm going to remain enthusiastic for season 2 and hope that it improves. I thought I remember hearing something about a release date window, but I can't remember.
It's so far I've just been sometime in 2024. That's it.
Are they still saying 2024?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's surprising me. I thought it might be 2025, but yeah. So yeah, we'll see. All right, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making the show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions. Number 1, because you gave us fun, interesting things to talk about. But number 2, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. I got, you know what, guys? I'm going to be honest with you. I was going to do an open mic today. My throat, I was telling the guys when I came in, I couldn't sleep last night. My throat is in agony. I took a COVID test. Thankfully, it's not COVID. But I have been struggling to get through today's show. So even though I was going to do an open mic today, I better not. So any of you who have been sending questions, you've been waiting for them to get answered, please be patient with me. We'll do an open mic tomorrow. So hopefully I'll be right back up to 100% tomorrow. Don't forget to come back tomorrow and join me and Ray, Jonathan, Robert Meyer Burnett's going to be in tomorrow. We'll see you guys then. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.